Joining us from Washington, D.C. to break down everything here is political strategist Erin McPike. So Erin, first of all, break down the latest polls for us. What are they revealing?
What they're showing is that the race is definitely tightening in a number of the states that matter. That's true in Arizona, that's true in Florida, that's true in Ohio, that's true in North Carolina. And in some of the latest polls, Donald Trump has actually pulled ahead, but there's been such a huge turnout in those early voting numbers that it's hard to see how Joe Biden's lead could be erased in some of those states.
Now, at the end of the day, the polls proved wrong last time. I mean, what are political analysts predicting will happen here?
Really, what matters are these three states, Michigan and Wisconsin, which, as you mentioned at the top, Donald Trump won in 2016. Right now, the poll disparity is so great in those two states that the Biden campaign thinks that they've put those two states away. And that means that it could all come down to Pennsylvania. And if Joe Biden wins Pennsylvania, then he likely will be the 46th president. But the polls are tightening there, too. And that's why you're seeing the Biden campaign send everyone they've got to Pennsylvania today. They had so many of their surrogates in Pennsylvania over the weekend, and that's where Joe Biden will be ending his campaign tonight for the final big push. They've got a number of rallies throughout the state because that is the state that could make him president. And the Trump campaign believes that that's where they need to stop Joe Biden, and that's why you're seeing Donald Trump there. He was there throughout the weekend, too. It's really all going to come down to Pennsylvania. Now, if Joe Biden can flip two other states, and maybe that's Arizona or Georgia, which are also very close and in which Joe Biden has a lead, he could make up for a potential loss in Pennsylvania.
Right. Now, what's interesting is that the International Crisis Group is warning of potential violence ahead and after Tuesday's presidential election. Can you break down what their main concerns are here and what could potentially happen?
Yeah, well, so it's actually a thing that could happen on both sides. And one of the things that I've been reading about is that some of these militia groups, like the one that we saw in Michigan that threatened Governor Whitmer, there's some talk on social media and on Facebook in particular that there could be some sort of uprising after Election Day if they don't get the result that they want, or if the results haven't fully come in and they want to keep Donald Trump in the White House. So we've seen some talk that some of these groups could come into Washington. What they could do remains to be seen, but that's why you're seeing so much security and why so many stores are boarding up. And as you mentioned, I live in Washington, D.C., and we're seeing downtown Washington start to board up a lot of those stores, too.
Right.
Right now, what we're seeing from the Trump campaign is that they're saying that it would all come from Biden supporters, but there's no evidence of that. What the evidence shows is that there are some militia groups that support Donald Trump that could storm some of these cities. So it's unclear how that'll play out just yet, but that's why you're seeing a lot of downtown cities take a lot of extra precaution.
Now, you mentioned you're in D.C. right now. What is the mood right now? I mean, how's the public feeling? Clearly, a lot more voters have turned up to the polls than back in 2016, right?
Yeah, I have participated in presidential elections for a long time. And generally in Washington, every major election, that's presidential elections every 4 years and the midterm elections in between every 2 years, there's a lot of excitement in Washington, D.C., because this is a city full of political junkies who live for election days. But over the last few months, the mood has really been, let's get on with it. Let's get this election over with. It has been such a slog. People are looking forward to this being over and looking forward to Wednesday or Thursday or Friday when we will actually know the outcome.
Well, obviously, I mean, there continues to be concerns about violence, uprisings like we mentioned before. I guess the bottom line is, what do you think is going to play out in the immediate aftermath of this election?
In Washington, D.C. in particular, there is so much security in the city, and there always has been, as you know, with Secret Service and other forces because of the heavy government structures here. So I'm sure we'll see a lot of activity, but I would point out to you that I was in Washington, D.C. in 2008, the night that Barack Obama won the presidency, and tons and tons and tons of people spilled out into the street to celebrate because they were so excited. So it was hard to move around the city that night because there were so many people out celebrating, and it could be just like that.